Yeah.
We got to talk to Fulford.
Yeah, Supa.
Oh, Supa, yes.
Supa. She's an Arcturian healer.
Right.
She's still around, but she got promoted.
Oh, did
So she doesn't come as often.
Yeah.
When you visit the ships, do you go in your astral light body, or do you get to go in your physical body?
I used to do my physical body a lot. Now that I just hooked up, so it's like being in 3D television. You're there. We can talk to you. But it's just through the implants. Once in a while I get to go. Unlike Western mean tone standard tunings for musical instruments, the Galactic instruments are tuned to the natural resonant frequency of humans and their environment. An example is Ra music rediscovered by Alan Howarth. Ra music uses pi and phi golden mean measurement found in the Egyptian pyramids and Mayan temples. The guy did a whole research on it, and he discovered this Ra music, which you can translate all modern music into. And it's the closest to the tones of things.
So go on the internet and do your research. Look up Ra music or Alan Howard, because you can take Imagine from the Beatles, and he will translate it into this phi and pi instrument, which will then bring you into total harmony. So cool.
Okay, Chapter 5, Socio-Political, Economic, Spiritual Paradigm Shift, which is what we were talking about at the beginning. And we'll start with a Deepak Chopra quote. There are no extra pieces in the universe. Everything is here because he or she has a place to fill, and every piece must fit itself into the big jigsaw puzzle. Scientists spend hundreds of years making distinctions that don't really exist. As a result, we think of ourselves as separate from the environment. The reality, he explains, is that we humans are an integral part of this environment, and that the environment is part of us. So, I thought that was an important quote because it explains what we're talking about. That we're all one of the same melody. We're all part of creating the universe. And then the next one, and we'll do a couple on collective unity. We are responsible both individually and collectively for each other and for our environment. Every day we breathe each other's air. Every day we are responsible for maintaining the ecosphere and sustaining life on Mother Earth. Likewise, we need to act individually and collectively to create our own new reality. One of the things that Deepak Chopra discovered, as a lot of scientists did, air that people breathe in and out in India, 48 hours later, you're breathing it. Same air. So we have to realize we are all one. We are moving across the globe to come together as never before. Small banks, collectives, and interlinked organizations are espousing the need to save our planet and discover a new global paradigm. This mass movement is beginning to reach levels where it can produce the necessary political clout to affect positive change and transform this reality. We are right now, and this is something that newspapers do not talk about, I don't know why, we are right now in the most massive period in human history on a global basis of organizations working together on a common goal to basically bring humanity together. The most that's ever been on this entire planet. And people don't talk about it. Like there are people that are doing small fundings to help small banks being created in small little villages all around the world. All these small little villages are then producing goods or things that make their standard of living go up just a little bit. And then, so there's an increment of standard of living going up, of different things happening in this world that were not possible before, and of people interacting. Because people find out about what these little groups are doing, and then they have a larger group, let's say somewhere in the West, in England or in France, or in the United States or Canada, and they're reacting with them. They're interacting with them on the internet or just going to visit one another and have conferences. This has been going on a greater and greater level now for the last decade and a half. And in the last half decade is when this has really been taking off. So what we have to see is there is a thing happening on this world about unity. And this is a very important thing. And so when you begin to realize that, you see that this conscious shift is affecting how people are relating to one another. So this is really the first time in the entire history of this planet where on a global basis we can quickly communicate with one another because of the internet and because of transportation that we have now, like jet, etc. And we're actually weaving this net together called collective humanity, the one. And this is really what's happening, and it's creating a new paradigm. We are moving back to our founding values and adding some new ones that recognize the changes that have occurred since our nation was founded over 2 centuries ago. This entire change is being divinely orchestrated by Saint Germain and the Ascended Masters. Now that is an actual portrait drawn when he was a middle-aged man of Saint Germain, when he was Count Saint Germain. This hangs in the castle in Paris. Saint Germain was a real person.
What time period?
That would be about the 1720s. That was just about the time when he created the World Trust.
Remember that term, World Trust. It'll come up again later.
Now that's the painting. So this is an actual oil painting commissioned around 1718, 1720 of Saint Germain.
Looks a little bit like George Washington.
Right. And then, of course, let's move on, because I think the pictures, yeah. Saint Germain inspired Thomas Jefferson in writing the Declaration of Independence. They called him either the old man or the professor. And whenever Jefferson got into a quandary about what he should write, he would go across the hall to talk to the professor, as they called him, because he always had a proper, very just answer. And at the one time, just before the Declaration, they voted on actually writing this thing, a man stood up in the upper levels of Independence Hall, above where the meeting room was, and gave them a 15-minute lecture on why the United States should be independent. That was Saint Germain. Saint Germain considers this his greatest single thing that he ever did. So he's very, you might say, territorial about this country.
He also yelled at him and signed that document when he arrived in that position.
Right. And that was when, just before then, was when Franklin made his little pun, which was very serious, which is, so we can either all hang together or we'll hang separate.
Yes.
So the next one is the one people know from the IM movement, which is the picture that was done. And this was basically done on the fact that Saint Germain used to appear regularly during the IM meetings in Chicago. And I have a lot of material that Saint Germain gave to them. I read it once from a friend of mine who was the daughter of one of the ladies who was one of the major movers from the beginning in the 40s and 50s and 60s. So over 200 years ago, Saint Germain set up the conditions for lightworkers to obtain resources they need to be free in the 21st century, the new age of life. For centuries, Saint Germain was preparing our consciousness for first contact to occur. Saint Germain realized that we need to go back to being fully conscious, but on that way we needed to understand the concepts of freedom and sovereignty. Those are the two major things of all fully conscious beings. So first of all, you have to know, you have to understand that we are free. We are freedom. And we'll go define some terms here in a little bit. And so the next thing he realized was, when you reestablish and create a true democratic republic, what you are then doing is setting the stage for contact. And that's what he was doing. First contact.
Okay.
Well, Saint Germain had a plan. Very smart plan. As an ascended master, Count Saint Germain wished to create a unique prototype for democracy. In his vision, such a government would advance the human condition and manifest the technology needed as a precursor to first contact. One day this future government, to be called America, would have the potential to advance the course of world peace and become a beacon for freedom. He knew that. Matter of fact, one of the things he did, which we'll be talking about shortly, is he came to George Washington during Valley Forge and explained to him, when he was about ready to give up himself, what America was, what it was going to do. And before he died, he had a person write down for him, as he was dictating it, exactly what Saint Germain said. Now, one of the things that Saint Germain did was he knew that if he wanted to get money to set up a world trust, you got to go with the people that got to go. So the first guy he got in real tight with, since he was in France anyway, was Louis XIV.
We're coming up to a break time in Sheldan Nidle's presentation of finding or making galactic sense out of chaos that was recorded in Montgomery, Alabama on this week's edition of Talk for Food. When we come back, Sheldan will talk more about the World Trust that was founded by the Count of Saint Germain, and then we'll get into, or he'll get into, NESARA.